ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Walking with J.Beau on this cloudy, cool, sort of, kind of, but not really humid night. Might get sprinkled on. I don't think we'll get any rain though. I do have you on head cam tonight. Kind of a busy day today. I'm walking late. Did not want to walk this late. It is late at night, so I'm not going to talk as loud. But I was also working on a semi-hollow Les Paul guitar copy. That I got for very cheap quite a few years ago. And when I got it, it had a factory defect on one of the frets. One of the frets was mangled when it was put in by whatever machine was used. And it was obvious it was a factory second guitar. But I was really busy at the time. Didn't do a return. I just kept it. Said, well, maybe someday I'll learn how to do a refret. So, a few years ago, I bought some frets that are about the same measurements as what you would have on a Gibson guitar, because I knew for all intent and purposes they would fit medium jumbo. And well, I took it upon myself this evening to remove the frets that were on the guitar, sand the fretboard using my tools and gauges to make sure it stays straight while I do it, and also keeps its radius. Very important. So you're probably asking, well, if it had one mangled fret, why did you replace all of them? Well, what I had tried to do back then was I tried to take all the other frets down to be the same height of the mangled one and try to get the mangledness out by sanding a new radius and then re-crowning the frets. But there wasn't very much fret left, and I still wasn't low enough to get rid of the mangle. That's how bad it was. And you cannot have one fret different than the others. So I said, great, wonderful, I'll put it aside, work on it someday, maybe never. So the other problem is this guitar has binding on the neck. And I don't have what I need to cut the tangs on the frets to keep the binding intact. So what I did, because the main goal is to get the guitar playable, is I cut into the binding from the slot of the frets that I had pulled. car sounds terrible. Something very mechanical going wrong with that car with the drivetrain. Excuse me. So anyway, long story short, I had purchased some Jescar frets, which are pretty good quality, decent quality anyway, a few years ago, with the intent of installing them way before I just did. And I did just install them. And watched a few YouTube videos over the years on how to do fret work. Would have been a lot easier if this would have been an unbound Stratocaster style neck, but that was the reason for me making the decision to cut into the binding, because I had everything I needed to do the fret job. I didn't have the tools I needed to cut the tangs part way out so it drops in there. So I just cut into the binding. And like I said, it's not an expensive guitar. Visually, it's not really a big deal at all. And you're not going to feel it when you're playing. So I was like, what's the big deal, right? So I had all the other tools I need. I have my crowning tools, all that stuff. So what I'm doing on this walk is I'm letting the glue dry that I used in each fret slot when I put in the new frets. And there's two different kinds of glue you can use for that. One is called a yellow glue, and one is called K glue, or AKA crazy glue. And it's best to use the very liquidy type, like the first time it was invented in the 50s. That old-fashioned formula works best because it seeps underneath the fret into the slot, and it will hold that fret in there like cement. So I did that to all the frets after I installed them. Checked them with my brass hammer, gently tapping on each one. What you don't want to hear is dead spots. You want to hear a nice crisp feedback metallically. So that's what I did, and I'm satisfied with it. Now I'm going to let those sit and harden for a few hours, and then I'm going to cut the ends of the frets off. And then, after that, I'm going to have to shape the ends of the frets, do a fret leveling, do a fret recrown, polish them up, and then play the son of a bitch. So I'm probably going to have good maybe 3 hours more work to do on that. Which is why when you pay somebody to do stuff like this, they charge you $200 to $300. And if there's binding, they actually charge you a lot more, because it's a lot more work. So I've taken it upon myself to try my hand at it. Basically, all I have invested in it right now is sandpaper that I already have, super glue, which I already have. The cheap super glue is awesome. And as I put my flashlight on, see if there's any deer out here tonight. Nope, I don't see any eyeballs looking at me tonight. So we'll let those harden up. Nice nickel frets that I put in there to replace the brass ones, which weren't really brass, but they were kind of a brass alloy, which is kind of soft and they don't last as long. We'll go with the nickel ones. And you can see it's pretty late. There's no cars. So after I have everything all cleaned up, I'll do a fret leveling, which doesn't need much because they're brand new frets. Just basically making everything align properly so you don't get any fret buzz, things like that. And I got my different various crowning tools. Turn off my headlight, my phone light I should say. I'm gonna get the apple blossoms out. That's that old ass apple tree. So I really love doing things with my hands. We'll see how satisfactory this job is when I'm done. And this was one that you need a little bit of confidence to do because it was not straightforward. I had to improvise. And I think I did a pretty good job thus far. I definitely have the frets in like I want them. And it'll be nice and solid to work with. So I have some nipping tools, some nippers. Again, these are old tools that they used to use in the old days. Nowadays they sell all this fancy stuff specifically for doing fret work. But they used to do the same work in the 1900s, early 1900s, with basic shop tools. So there's more than one way to do something. You might have to be smarter one way than another way, but I'm okay at that too. So all I got left to do after I nip the ends of the frets is I got to scrape the fretboard with a razor blade by hand, which is the old-fashioned way, because the grain of the wood runs up the board from where your pickups are up to the headstock on the end where your tuning keys are, and they run up the length of the neck along with the neck in that direction. The easiest way to sand it is to sand it across grain. And you should never sand wood across grain. So you're better off to do it with a razor blade by hand, scraping any excess super glue that way. And then you can use a product called Never Dull after you've done the recrowning and leveling, and then recrown. And then you can polish up the frets and the fretboard at the same time. And Never Dull, invented in the 50s, is a kind of a cotton wadding with oil, and it's mildly abrasive natural cotton. And it was marketed to people that wanted to polish metals and jewelry and stuff. So it'll put a high gloss mirror shine on the guitar frets, which is what you want. I've been using that for years. It's like 10 bucks a can. And they sell stuff specifically made for guitars, 25 bucks, 20 bucks. And this stuff has been around for decades and used by many guitar luthiers for $9.95 a can. In fact, 10 years ago it was $5.95. Now it's $9.95. So, very cool stuff. Thought I'd go out for my 5-mile walk tonight. Apologize for the last walk. Apparently the battery died while I was walking, and I didn't hear the battery warning light. I guess I forgot to charge it, or I left it on too long when I thought it was off, which may be possible. So the weather this week in Maine is cool, damp, occasional rain, cloudy every day, 48 to 55 degrees, miserable. Thursday and Friday it's going to rain. I guess Thursday a lot, which is another reason why I'm walking tonight. So I found it very interesting. President Trump today talking about the Golden Dome. I guess that's officially going to be underway. He also went to D.C., the capital, to meet with Republican congressmen and try to get them on the same page to vote for his big, beautiful bill. You have this core group of fiscally conservative Republicans who don't want, they want to cut Medicare, and they want to cut this and cut that and cut government spending. And you cannot cut Medicare, much as you'd like to. Can't do it. You can clean it up, cut out the fraud, waste, and abuse, which Trump repeated endlessly today, many times, because he kept getting asked by the press, "You cutting Medicaid?" No, we're not. Waste, fraud, and abuse. He kept repeating it over and over. And then there was a report of an anonymous source who said Trump was in that private meeting, swearing, getting impatient, threatening Republicans. And a Republican that was in that room was on CNN tonight and said that absolutely did not happen. And Trump called it out to that reporter. You should go to your source and tell them they're a liar. And then Trump goes, if there even is one. Because that's what the media does. They make up anonymous sources. So, you know, that's what happens a lot. I really think 80% of the time they don't even have a source. I think they just make it up. You can't dispute it, right? How are you going to dispute it? It's anonymous. There's nobody to talk to. You have to rely on the credibility of the newspaper. Ha, that's a laugh, right? Ooh, that hill gets my heart going every time. So, pretty excited about finishing up that guitar. And the beautiful thing is this Les Paul shaped guitar has 2 F holes in it, and it's a gold top, nice metallic gold. It's all wired up. I just got to put a bridge and tailpiece on it. It's got tuning keys already. The wiring all works. I tested it tonight without any strings on it. By dragging a screwdriver across the pole pieces, you hear noise through the amplifier. You can also check if the tone knob is working, doing the same thing. Because you drag it across, it makes a high-pitched clack, 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 clack. And then when you turn the tone knob down, it turns into muffled by cotton balls. So I'll be all good to go with that. Also, I checked the truss rod to make sure the neck adjusted properly. Everything's perfect. It just needs frets on it. Probably going to be a pretty decent guitar, actually. It's one that sells for about $300. I think I paid $212. So, nice mahogany body. So basically it's a dark back gold top, semi-hollow body. That's pretty cool. 12-inch radius fretboard. Feels like a 59, kind of a 59 D-shaped neck. Not too fat, not too thin. Might be pretty nice to play. And leveling and recrowning frets, I have done that a lot. I have a lot of experience in that, but this was the first time I actually refret a guitar. So the rest of it from here, after I trim those frets off the ends, I should be good to go. I got all the different files I need, I got everything. So that should be fun and interesting. I think so anyways. So I found out there's a lot of people from the Democratic Party that want to be governor. Troy Jackson now wants to run for governor. Guy starts out as a Republican, switches to independent when the state started going blue. Then he went to Democrat when the state did go blue. He became the Senate Majority Leader for 2 terms, so he was term limited, which is the only reason why he's got nothing to do now. So now he's going to run for governor. And in the process, This is the same son of a bitch who did those dirty dealings in Augusta. Tried to get last-minute legislation passed, and Janet Mills was smart enough to lock the door in the Blaine house and told them, I'm not doing that. We're not going to erase our norms and how we do things to cheat. She issued a statement to the media saying that she thinks Democrats in Maine should get on page with our traditions and norms and have a fair legislature and not do something just because we can. And she refused to sign this stuff. That's one of the few things that she's done that I was actually very impressed with, because she's definitely not a radical, but she is a progressive. She also vetoed 2 anti-gun legislation bills, but she didn't 2 other ones. So she's going to be all done. But anyway, Troy Jackson is the one that engineered that cheating, and he should be nowhere near government ever again. Problem is, Shanna Bellows is also running. She's the one that filed lawsuits to keep RFK off the ballot because it would hurt Biden's chances. And she also kicked Trump off the ballot on a technicality, which the court said you can't do that. So she tried to cheat twice. She's going to be horrible. So none of those people can win. Well, they can, but I mean, they can't win. Just can't. So we still don't have a clear front runner for the Republicans. That's what bothers me. I think Mike Sobieski is going to end up running. I think he'll be fine. Like I said, former Governor Paul LePage, who tried to run against Janet Mills last time and lost. And in fact, he didn't make a good showing, really. He had too much baggage, I think. People want to go forward and not backward, that kind of thing. Which is why a lot of people thought Trump wouldn't win this time. And the Democrats even tried to push that. We're never going back. Remember that? Well, you did. Tenfold. Anyway, so they're going to, I think they should push Mike Sobieski, who's the guy I wouldn't vote for Congress, because he's been a career politician. But for the governor seat, he might actually be the good choice for that. Because he's never rah, 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 go Trump. But at the same time, he heavily criticized the Secretary of State for kicking him off the ballot. So he's not really a Trumper, but he's not an anti-Trumper either. He's a safe Trumper. He'll play it safe. So for Maine, that might actually be a good thing, because Maine has 1/3 of us are independents in the electorate, and a lot of them might go for him. Democrats are going to try really hard to make him be a pro-Trumper, but he's not a pro-Trumper. So people will see through that. And hopefully by then Trump will be giving really good results, and then Mike Sobieski can just say, yeah, I support Trump. Awesome. Vote for me. I'll bring that same common sense to Maine. So we'll see what happens, but still early. Maine is definitely turning more red. So I am absolutely positive, 100% sure of that. And it's the fault of the Democrats. Their stupid policies. Just dumb. Just stupid, super dumb stuff. So any hoodly hoo. Some of this stuff I talked about last night on yesterday's walk, where most of the walk was cut off. Again, I'm sorry about that. So, yeah, Joe Biden has aggressive prostate cancer that spread to the bone. We don't know which bone, but like I said, being a male and being aware of it at my age, typically that'll end up in the tailbone. It's usually where somebody will start getting symptoms, actually, and by then it's pretty late. So they can use hormone inhibitors. That's what I was talking about yesterday. AKA drugs like Lupron, AKA puberty blockers. These are the puberty blockers they give kids. When you hear people online call them cancer treatment drugs, that's what they are. They prohibit the production of testosterone because prostate cancer, for that certain tumor type like Biden has, feeds off of testosterone. So if you reduce the amount of testosterone you have, you can increase whatever length of life you have, but there's no cure for his stage of prostate cancer because it's spread. So, what does that mean? Well, it means he's probably been having that done for a while now, because one of the side effects is losing mental acuity and cognitive decline in elderly people because of the lack of testosterone, which would explain his issues, wouldn't it? Also, the type of prostate cancer he has, he would have had to have had it 5 to 10 years ago for it to be spreading like it is. So it's treatable, but not curable. And basically, instead of dying next year, he'll die 4 years from now, whatever, if something else doesn't get him first. But basically, he's tout finito, benito. And I'm not going to gloat and be happy that anybody has gotten cancer. I don't want to hear any comments like that. I think we need to show people some respect, even if they deserve otherwise. That's what Christians do, by the way. So, I don't wish that on him or anybody else. But that being said, I'm not happy that that was kept from the public, because he probably knew, like I said yesterday, just before the election or during the primary or whatever, and it was too late to back out. So they just lied about it, which means the White House doctor lied about it, because he had to have known about it. So I think they were being deceitful, and it's wrong. Can't have that in the White House. We already have Trump's PSA results from his exam he just had. So whatever they did with Biden, we never heard about it, because they were hiding something. It basically turned into that elderly guy who don't want to admit he's at the end of the road, and he doesn't want to give up his keys to the car. That's what happened with Biden, and why he made such a late decision. Basically what happened. So that's my opinion on the whole thing. Don't know if I'm right or not. So, You know, you try to figure these things out because we don't have a media we can rely on, and I think I'm pretty close to that. We don't really need the media anymore. We can get all that information ourselves. Well, like today I watched President Trump's press conferences, and I know what he said at them, and I know what was asked, and there's no use to listen to the propaganda on the media after that. I got all I need to know. Combined with different news articles from different sources, independent and conservative. A lot of the independent media is very good. Sometimes they're brutally honest. So that kind of stuff is always interesting. Got to keep yourself informed, folks. Don't rely on the media for anything. Even if you're a conservative, listening to conservative news. I've seen Fox News say a couple of questionable things where I'm like, okay, that sounds a little biased. So, you know what I mean. We're all smart enough to figure this out. Especially right now with the times we're in, where we can't trust anything. And of course we have the Democrats spewing a whole bunch of lies. Can't believe how radicalized that party has become. And they don't even tell the truth. They're shameless about it, and the media does nothing to hold them to account. All they have is they're waiting, which, by the way, there's going to be a first round vote on Trump's bill tonight. And we'll see what these Republican holdouts do or don't do. So it's going to be late, 1:30 in the morning or something like that. I might put that on C-SPAN. I like C-SPAN because there's nobody talking on it. Nobody telling you how you should feel, what you should think. So I've been having fun on social media. A bunch of Democrats. I've been speaking out against that Democrat congresswoman being charged with obstructing ICE and assault, which is a felony charge that any of us would have gotten for doing the same thing. She's pushing and shoving police officers. That's assault. Everybody knows that. So, and there were federal ICE officers. That is a crime. So she's being charged because nobody is above the law. So that's all I saw today was people quoting these same people saying that they are weaponizing the justice system against Democrats. If you can believe that with a straight face after what they did to Republicans. People were quoting their exact quotes that they made online, saying nobody is above the law, no matter your status, no matter if you are a former president, no matter if you're anything. The law is the law is the law. Nobody is above the law. So they sound like a bunch of idiots. And this is the Pandora's box they opened. This is exactly what people said they shouldn't be doing what they're doing in 2023 up until now, trying to lock up Republicans, because it comes back around. And we still have that pocketbook on the porch. That pocketbook has been on the porch for over a week now. Don't know who it belongs to. Figure somebody would have come by for it by now. Starting to wonder if somebody was abducted or something. At what point do I investigate and knock on somebody's door I don't know and say, hey, what's going on with this pocketbook? Knowing my luck, I'll go to look inside it to find an ID to contact somebody, and somebody will say I stole it. That's the other possibility. In the old days, it wouldn't be an issue. Nowadays, nobody trusts anybody, and you know, it's just how it is. It sucks. I don't like it at all. Like I said before, I've grown up where we'd leave the doors unlocked overnight. Neighbors left their cars unlocked. So, you know, what do you do? What the hell do you do about that? So we got recyclable trash out tonight on this street. I'm not seeing any pew-pew jugs though. It'd be nice to find a couple tonight though. Take a nice hot shower when I get back. Have some food. Finish working on that guitar tomorrow. I want that glue to set nice and hard overnight and cure. But you'd have to understand, you pound in fret wire into a wood slot, and then you put a bead of super glue along the fret, and it leaches in underneath the fret. Should be solid as a rock for many years. Until it needs the frets removed. And then when you remove these frets that have been on there and glued in, you can free up the glue, putting a soldering iron on the fret to get it hot, and it heats up the glue, and then you can remove the fret. I didn't have to do that with this one because the frets weren't even glued in. They were just pressed in at a factory, which a lot of times can be good enough, but by the time you buy a guitar made overseas somewhere, the wood swells and contracts, and then you have one fret higher than the other, but the time it takes to glue them in, they don't want to pay anybody. So it's not going to be an incredible guitar, but it's going to be playable and it'll be pretty decent. And I don't have a semi-hollow body, so might experiment with some pickups if I don't like the ones that are in it. But I'm pretty sure the ones that are in it would be just fine. Okay. We don't have any PP jugs over here. We got a recycle bin over here. Is there any jugs? There's a cardboard. Cardboard. I've told you before, I don't recycle anything. I don't put any recycle bin out. And why do I do that? I do that because that's something that ends up blowing around in the road when it's windy. It's also something where only 10% of what people put on the road to be recycled actually gets recycled. They grind up the rest of it and they throw it in the pit, the landfill. They don't even incinerate it because that causes pollution. So it's all a big lie. It's a scam. It's something to put a green label on so some politicians can pass legislation which benefits their contractor friends, like Obama did with Solandra, which went bankrupt because that was basically tax dollar government subsidies to a technology that was not going to be profitable, despite all the propaganda from the media and Obama. And it ended up costing billions of dollars in tax dollars wasted. All the money that the government has wasted, if they had just given it back to us, we'd all have nice houses, 2 cars, nice fat bank account. But no, we're stuck with this bucket of feces we have now. A whopping bucket. Like Mr. Mays, remember him? I'm gonna buy 1 whopping bucket. So I hope you're enjoying the walk tonight, and this time we'll have the entire walk. Well, there you have it. La 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 la. All right. I'm cruising on, man. Cruising on. So the work I got left to do, I'm not going to put an expensive bridge on this guitar because one, I have metric threaded bushings to mount them to the guitar that are already installed in the guitar. I'd have to pull the bushings, install new ones, which because I pulled out the old ones, I'd have to glue in the new ones, which is not a big deal. And for a $200 guitar, I don't see it being worth $250 bridge and tailpiece on it. So I'm going to put an Epiphone bridge and tailpiece that I have on this guitar, because it's pretty much the equivalent to an Epiphone. It's not the greatest quality, but it's not terrible either, minus the mangled fret that screwed this one up. Well, we're gonna make this a happy guitar again. The volume and tone pots are still stiff because they were brand new. They still have the factory grease in them. So I'm gonna have to put some electronics cleaner in there, dissolve some of that grease so they're not stiff as hell to move. I'll judge that after pick out a set of knobs I'm going to put on it. And that's the beautiful thing about all the parts I have. I probably have 3 dozen sets of knobs for Stratocasters, Epiphones, Gretches. I got different colors. I got Fender guitar knobs that are white. I have some that are aged. I have some that are actually really aged because they come off an old guitar. And I have all kinds of stuff like that. I have metric and Gibson style knobs for Epiphones. I have standard American knobs, which I won't be using for this because these are the metric larger spline posts that the knobs go on. It just takes simple push-on knobs. So I'm going to put a traditional set of 1950s looking gold top hat knobs, gold ones, like you would have seen Les Paul play back in the 50s and 60s. And so I got all kinds of options. But it's a gold top, so some nice amber knobs might look nice, or the gold ones. We'll see. Because sometimes you put gold knobs on a gold top, the color is too close, there's no contrast. So I might end up using the amber knobs. They're like gold, but the plastic in them is kind of amber to look like they're aged. And it gives a good contrast on the existing gold top, and also color matches. So probably use those. So that'll be a lot of fun. And I think for a guitar set, I haven't decided. I like 9 through 42 for heavy metal, and for blues and classic rock, I like 9 through 46, a hybrid set. So I'll look through my string box. I got a whole bunch of loose strings. I'll probably just throw a set of strings together out of that instead of paying $8 for another set for nothing. That's what happens over the years. You end up accumulating all these extra strings. So you buy a brand new set, you put them on, a few days later or a month later you break a string. So you crack open a pack you bought, and then now that pack has that string missing, you know what I mean? So then you end up opening the pack completely and just keeping all the strings as singular replacements. So we'll be all right. Basically what I'm saying is, get everything I need, and I'm gonna nip these tangs on the frets I installed as close to the binding as I can without damaging the binding. And then I'm going to have to use a hand file on each one of the 22 frets, file the end of it, and there's 2 sides to a fretboard, so it turns out to be 44 altogether because I have to do both sides. And then I have to use an angled file on the end to bevel the end of the fret. Then you have metal burrs from doing that, so you have to go to smaller files and start hand shaping the frets. And then you got to level the frets, and after you level them with a sanding beam, you have to make sure. Ooh, look at this. Pew-pew jugs. I got 2 pew-pew jugs. And this is that guy there that takes the caps off. But the joke's on him because I have an extra cap at home I found. Heh heh heh. So, we have a cat litter container right here. Get the cat litter containers over here too. Oh, look at this. I don't know if you can see this, but these are fun to shoot filled with water too. I'm going to carry those. home with me. All right, now we're cooking with Crisco. See this? Pew, 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 pew. Pew, pew jugs. Now the neighborhood I'm going to be walking through, it's not trash night yet, so parts of my walk is trash night on Tuesday, Wednesday, and the other one is Thursday. So 3 nights during the week is trash night, and I picked this stuff up, and we end up having stuff to shoot. Any kind of plastic container with a lid is excellent for shooting because of hydrostatic shock, hydraulics, rapidly increasing the water pressure inside a container by launching a bullet into it, and then the entire thing explodes. Bullet doesn't explode. And that's what pissed me off about that 60 Minutes report on AR-15s, trying to make it sound like it had exploding bullets. There's absolutely not one single bullet sold to the general public that is an exploding bullet. Hydrostatic shock. Wound cavity. The body is 60% of water, so when you get shot, yeah, we'll go this way. So when you get shot, the bullet causes hydrostatic shock inside your body and causes the wound cavity to open up sometimes 10 to 12 inches real quick, and that rips your organs apart. Causes a lot of damage. The bullet itself will flatten out some, will have some petals on it, and that'll twist and cut its way through you as well. Very devastating, but that's not exclusive to an AR-15 bullet, especially if it's full metal jacket, because that has a good chance of going right through you unless you're really up close to it. Like we saw with Kyle Rittenhouse, where he shot that guy in the arm and it blew his bicep off. He shot the guy, I don't even think he was 3 feet away from him. The guy was about ready to shoot him, so he had to shoot him. Well, you can hear me lugging my jugs. Pretty cool. These have good handles on them too. Fill them up with water and you can carry them. I'm glad they're not full now. So we'll finish up this walk. Very nice walk tonight. It's like 52 degrees, but it's not a cold 52. It's a little humid. Still cool. Don't get me wrong, I'm wearing a hoodie over a t-shirt, but I'm wearing a long sleeve with a t-shirt and a hoodie. So walk up this way. Got a low cloud cover out there tonight. Probably going to be foggy overnight, I would think, has that kind of look to it. So soon as the air temperature gets down to the dew point, you'll get fog. It'll start condensing the water in the air because there is some humidity. Stuff I do to have fun at the shooting range, huh? Good time as any to advertise my shooting videos if you want to check out my gun playlist. Firearms. I heard little dog claws. Made me nervous. This time of night, I don't want to hear dog claws. Oh yeah. Whew. I gotta switch hands here. We just hit 4 miles. 4 miles in the books. Whew. Oh, that breeze feels nice. I'm sweating pretty good, folks. Got a good workout. Getting hungry too. I never did go buy my pasta. I'm gonna go get some pasta. Pasta la vista, baby. Oh, this guy's got a whole bunch of cars, used cars to sell. Looks like they're all Toyotas. Most of them. No, not all of them. On that car. Snoopy in his Sopwith Camel. Going to fight the Red Baron. See any deer tonight. So I am pretty anxious to watch that voting tonight on the first round of Trump's big beautiful bill. They had to break it apart, which they didn't want to do. It's easier to pass as one big bill. But it's these fiscally conservative Republicans are coming up the works. If it was Democrats, they would have passed it already. This is going to be Trump's big piece of legislation. This is what people voted for. No tax on tips, extending the tax cut. It also has 75 to 80% cutting drug costs for consumers. Which means if you're on a prescription right now, your cost should go down significantly. You can't imagine there's Republicans that are going to vote against this. Wouldn't surprise me if there were a couple Democrats that came across. Also, ones like Jared Golden from Maine here. He hasn't announced whether or not he's going to run again. He might be holding out to run against Susan Collins. It'll be interesting to see what happens. That's all I'm saying. But I really hope that passes tonight. I don't know how late they're going to be voting. Probably giving floor speeches right now. And I'll have a vote later. No, no deer tonight over here. Oh dear. Just lugging my jugs. I know a lot of you guys like the selfie stream, but it's a lot of work. This, I just put the camera on my head and walk. Four and a half miles, my ear just told me. So my friends, I'm hoping you're enjoying walking with me. And again, my walking vlog is a fitness vlog. It's nothing special. I'm not here to sing and dance and entertain people. I just talk about what's on my mind. And I understand an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes per walk. It's a long time. I don't edit things together. I don't put in a bunch of music. I start off the show with a little bit of music, date, temperature. That's about all. And I sign off at the end. So, this is all about health. It's the little things. Make America healthy again. I'm a huge proponent of that. A lot of people have been exercising lately, taking care of themselves, catching on. I'm either in my 4th or 5th year now. Started off doing just 2 miles 3 times a week. I wasn't very committed to it. Then it just grew from there. I built up the stamina. I was like, okay, well, this is easy now. Well, let's see, let's do 3 miles. And for the longest time, I was about 4 and a quarter. And I said, well, let's up that. Find some place where I don't feel it the next day negatively. So if I were young, it would be more than 5 miles a day. But I'm not, so 5 miles a day is just hunky-dory with me, with a sometimes 6. Last year we had a 7, an 8, a 9. We also had an 11. But those are going to be few and far in between. Oh, nice breeze. That feels so good. Oi, 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 oi. Beautiful night, really is. When I get home, I'll strip, get in the shower, have a coffee first, and some liquids. Which reminds me, I gotta buy some sparkling water. I need sparkling water and some pasta. I got all kinds of tomato sauce and tomatoes, diced tomatoes. I got onions I gotta cut up, potatoes. I would imagine potatoes would be good with pasta too. Have potatoes, pasta with a tomato sauce, some chili powder maybe, some onions, some beef, yum yum, or some chicken. Making myself hungry, that's all I'm doing. I think I'll sign off over here at the weed store, the Weed Mart. Cannabis haven. Get your weed here. Something I don't do. I don't do any drugs. I don't drink. Never cared for it. Don't have any interest at all. I don't need drugs to make my day happy. So anyways, my friends, we'll sign off right now. I'm not going to take you off my head and sign off into the camera, but we'll sign off right here. Thank you very much for walking with me. Click like and subscribe, share the content, and if you need recreational cannabis, you can buy your weed here and your bongs to smoke it with. They also sell pre-rolled joints, according to the sign. So have a good night, everybody. Thanks for walking with me, and we will see you on the next one. God bless you and your family. Say a prayer for Trump and the country, and we'll see you on the next walk. Thank you for walking with J.Beau. Bye-bye.